shooting it down. Is it not OP? It's not OP or broken. He just doesn't like it. It's not a bad DM, and I don't know a lot of other people that DM. How do I convince my DM that this character is going to be good in a campaign?
Well, you have to find out the reason why the DM says no to begin with. Is there a point of lore for the world that they're running a character in? The reason why you cannot play said character? If there's a point of lore, then go with it. Um, and possibly play something different.
Okay, or other option is ask your DM how you could tweak the character to fit into whatever mythos he's working with.
There is that possibility, but to be honest, if the game master is telling you no flat out for a reason, then either that reason has yet to make itself availed to you, or there's a lore reason for it. For example, I don't use Dragonborn in my Wraithborn campaigns because there is no Dragonborn. And I don't use monks because it is a Western-based European game, and the monk in 5th edition is very Eastern flavored. It's Oriental flavored. And so there is no martial arts in that way in my games. So I don't allow those two things. And I've told pretty much all my players about that.
So what about gnomes and halflings?
I just think they're stupid. So I don't have them in my game world. So part of the lore is there is no gnomes and halflings in my world, so therefore, too fucking bad.
Okay. What is the best way for my character to get a familiar or animal companion? Not having to convince the DM, just what is the best method? I don't want to be just given an animal.
The best way of getting one would be having a class that gets one, and otherwise, it would be a big role-playing thing. You would try to get an animal companion in some way, shape, or form through roleplay, and let's back that track up for a second. If you don't have the ability, like your class or a feat is not giving you an ability to have an animal as a companion or as a familiar, then what you're doing is you're making an animal follower. An animal follower comes and goes as it pleases. It does what it pleases, and it will not necessarily agree with what you want it to do. More often than not, it may not even understand what you want it to do because you have no mystical connection to it. Animal companions are an extension of rangers and some druids, and actually even some barbarians as well. They're an extension. They are a class feature. Same thing with familiars. Certain types of arcane spellcasters can get familiars. They are extensions of their character class. They are a piece of their power invested into the vessel of a mortal creature. If you're trying to get one of those things without just having a feature or a feat that allows you to have one of those, then all you're getting is just a follower, a henchman, a thing that is there that will occasionally do what you want, but you cannot necessarily ever rely upon it. It's an NPC.
So there you go, folks. Unless you're a woogie woogie, a tree woogie woogie, or a barbard, it's an animal follower. All right. Now, what is your thought on characters that are unusual? Example, clerics that don't pray or have a deity, rogues that don't really stealth, steal, or pick, or wizards that use weapons predominantly, like a war wizard.
I like characters that don't fit a mold, and unfortunately, because I'm not the only one who likes characters that don't fit molds, there are actually rules for all those kinds of things. For example, the Blade Singer out of Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. The Blade Singer is basically a war wizard. It is all focused around its weapon. and how to use its magical abilities to enhance its weapon abilities. Um, as far as the rogue, you have the mastermind. They are not necessarily sneaky rogue types as you would think of them. They are the ones who quietly sit in the background and adjust the battlefield to suit their needs. That battlefield could either be an actual combat encounter, or it could be a social battlefield or a political battlefield. Masterminds are actually amazing characters to have in a very intrigue-filled game where there's more investigations and information gathering and different types of social work than there is physical work. And then as far as clerics that don't have a deity, that's absolutely fine as well, because certain clerics, certain paladins, other divine spellcasters, they don't necessarily need to have a deity. They can manifest these spells and these abilities through their force of will and through their force of morality. Just because, there may be a god of good in your campaign does not necessarily that the good aligned cleric worships him or her. It could be that their own convictions are where they draw their source of divine power from. So having oddball characters that kind of break the mold and go outside the atypical class is absolutely fine. Go ahead and do those kinds of things.
Exactly. I don't know. I kind of like the weird characters, the unusual ones. They're always fun. And people, I think people tend to forget that there are other class type, like the archetypes, other than what's in the PHB.
There are, and there's also ways to build them. If you look at the Unearthed Arcana, some of the early ones, they actually teach you how to build archetypes. I see a lot of people who are building their own classes and other pieces for D&D 5e, thinking they need to build an entire class in order to fit something into it. That's not exactly true. You don't need to do that. You could build an archetype that fits your specific chosen niche for your character. So, for example, I have a gunslinger in my Return of the Wraithborn game who's based on a rogue. I think of it as like the desperado Wild West kind of gunslinger kind of thing. Whereas the ranger in our party, he has a long rifle, so he's an entirely different kind of musketeer type of character. So, you can do those kinds of things. You don't need to fit things into a mold. I mean, heck, you could make a divine blade singer. I mean, take the blade singer from the wizard, kind of mess around with it a little bit, and put it in as a divine option for a cleric instead. Where instead of casting arcane spells through their sword or whatever chosen weapon they have, they're casting divine spells through it instead. Much more akin to a paladin, sorta, but a lot more mobile and a lot more squishy.
I actually like that idea. I might try that out sometime in someone's game. Whoever's willing to, whatever GM is willing to let me tweak and play around with that. Just hit me up. Let me know. Okay. I want to make a custom setting for my game. I'm afraid that it may seem flat. So, what are some pointers on what I should do? I don't have a lot of time to do research. Should I borrow things from different games? Is that cheating?
That is not cheating at all. There is an old saying amongst designers: do not recreate the wheel. Meaning that if there's already something in place that works for something that you would like to do, then use it. Modify it, mock it up, kit bash it, do whatever you want to do it. We'll use, since we're talking about Blade Singers today, let's continue talking about Blade Singers for a few more minutes. So, in Skag, for example, which is a Forgotten Realms book, the Blade Singer is an elf-only kind of thing. Well, what if we changed that? And we made that into the Hearth Defender or some such thing, where it is halflings only in your world. And the halflings that utilize it, instead of utilizing a blade, they utilize a frying pan. And that's their chosen weapon, and they're able to enchant their frying pan to do, booming blade, but it's booming pan instead. Something ridiculous like that. You can go ahead and kit bash the shit out of any one of these worlds. You could use some pieces of Athos that you like. For example, the fact that arcane magic is destroying the world, so every time somebody casts a spell, it kind of bleeds and leaches out some of the life around you in the natural world. You can combine that with the mythals from Forgotten Realms, so that there are areas where magic is more powerful than others, or you could have living spells or what have you. And then you could turn around and you could add the overwhelming hordes of evil from Greyhawk, and the idea that there's a constant war being fought. So you could take all these kinds of things and bash them together, and you end up with sorcerer kings that have armies, and they have their homes in these mythals that are unassailable because magic just goes sideways entirely, so people can't ever get to them. Right there is an entire campaign in a nutshell, just by taking one individual element from 3 separate campaign settings and just putting them together.
Okay, now I want to address something that somebody has just said in chat, and it was good artists copy, great artists steal.
Well, okay. I made this comment some time ago, kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. And while it is true, it has a point. You can steal, quote unquote, which is you're borrowing, is what you're doing. You're not stealing, you're borrowing. You can borrow things from time to time from different sources. And as long as you change enough stuff in it to literally make it your own, then by all means do so. However, you cannot carbon copy from point A on to point B. That is straight up theft, and that's unoriginal, and your players will understand that you have straight up stolen it, and they won't feel your world. If you're going to take something from somebody else's campaign setting, which by all means, go ahead and take whatever you want from anything you've ever read, or anything you've ever seen in a movie, or heard in a song, or seen in a painting. Go ahead and take an element from that, but do a little bit of work. Just a little bit of work. I mean, DMs are DMs because we like to do the work and we want to tell a story. Do enough work where you're able to change that into something of your own. Do not just take it at face value, slap it in there, and expect your players to go, oh, this is entertaining and engaging, and it means something to this world that I'm in. Because they won't. They will see right through it. It'll be transparent because it's not yours. You have no investment in it, so they won't have any investment in it.
Exactly. Not only that, when you basically cut and paste from point A to point B, you're treading on somebody else's intellectual property.
Well, we won't go there because when we start talking about intellectual property and stuff like that, we're talking about publications. And if you're going to be stealing stuff and you're going to be using it in a publication, then that is straight up plagiarism, and that's against the law. And so we won't even talk about that stuff. But we're talking about home games that you're doing for your players. That's entirely different. And yes, Picasso is the one who said it, that good artists create, great artists steal. But let's be honest, we're not artists, we're game masters. It's half art, half math book is what we are playing with. So we're just making really good word problems for a math book. That's all we're doing.
Okay, now for the rest of the question, what are some pointers so that his custom setting doesn't go flat?
You have to be invested in what you're picking and choosing to use in your setting. Um, how you tell your story is as important to the players as to yourself. You need to be able to tell your story of something you feel. If you don't feel it, don't try to tell it. If you're trying to tell the story of young lovers who trip over a magic MacGuffin item and need to save each other by using this item, but you're not a romantic fantasy kind of game master and you don't like telling romantic fantasy stories, this is going to fall flat for you. You you will always fall on your face. Don't try to run Dragonlance, basically. If you aren't a romantic fantasy kind of person, don't run Dragonlance. If you don't like horror, don't run Ravenloft. You know, that's the kind of thing. If you don't feel the genre, if you don't feel the backstory that you're trying to tell the players, then it will come out flat. If you don't believe in what you're saying, they won't believe it either.
There you go. Okay, now, how would a non-magical character go about creating items with magical abilities?
Well, you can utilize rituals. Fourth edition had a really great system for non-magic casters casting magical rituals by utilizing skill checks. And we have seen it in novels, for example, in The Crystal Shard, which is the first of the Icewind Dale trilogy. Um, we have Brunor Battlehammer creating a magical scimitar. No, actually, creating a magical hammer, which he gives to Wolfgar. And Brunor is not a spellcaster in any way, shape, or form. He is a fighter. Matter of fact, if you look in the game books that have these stats for all these for all these NPCs, he is a fighter. Well, he's doing a ritual. He's inscribing runes. He's doing certain things, and he had to collect certain things. Well, that is basically it's a ritual component where he's utilizing skill checks and he's utilizing knowledges and histories and working with the game master to build a magic item that is his best work of art, as it were, and it has special properties because of the types of materials that he is putting into it. Same thing could be done when you are talking to your game master during downtime and trying to figure out how to build a magic item when you are not a spellcaster. You can do those kinds of things.
There you go. And sorry, that hammer was freaking awesome.
And I don't remember exactly what it was. I do believe it was like a hammer plus 2 dwarven thrower that Wolfgar was specifically able to utilize or something like that.
I don't know. All I know is its name was Fang.
Aegis Fang.
Aegis Fang. Yep. All right. Now, I am new to D&D and don't want to upset my friends who have played for years. So far, they've been pretty cool with my mistakes in metagaming, but what can I do so that I can get better at gaming with them and not be the noob?
You will always be the new player until you're not. I still see Susie as the new player, and she's been playing for 20 years. So, I mean, there you go. You're going to be the new player until you're no longer the new player. That's the way it is. There's the stigma that you get when you get into a group. You are the new one until you are no longer the new person. How can you get better? By playing. That's how you get better. And there is no better and there is no worse. There is just, are you enjoying yourself? Is everybody around you enjoying themselves? That's all that matters. It's just the enjoyment of the game.
Pretty much. And as far as the metagaming thing goes, just do what I do. Don't read the module until you're done playing the game.
Exactly.
That's how I do it.
I don't run modules, so that just kind of helps out.
Well, I do have a couple of GMs that I game with right now, and they are running modules. And I recently Actually, this on Sunday, I actually had my DM ask me if I had read the new module that we were playing that just came out, and I looked at him and was like, no. He's like, why not? I'm like, I'm not gonna read that. I'm not reading that until we're done playing this module.
Yeah.
From
Well, see, that's the difference between older players and newer players. Newer players need to have this transparency where they seem to know that, okay, the NPC behind the doorway can speak Draconic. I just spoke Draconic to them, so why aren't they responding? You're running this wrong. No, that's just a no. And I really dislike the transparency that 5th edition players, new 5th edition players, the new generation of gamer, has versus the older generations of gamers who don't come to expect what is written in a rule book to be what they find. And that is a very old thing that's been kicking around since the late 70s and early 80s. The make shit up by the seat of your pants kind of game mastering, and which, as my players know, I am one of those kinds of game masters. I make shit up on the seat of my pants, and just off a whim, because I feel like it that day, just to kind of make the story different, put a twist on it, because players seem to think they know everything, and it's good to slap them around from time to time so they don't know what they're going to be expecting around the next corner.
I'm sorry, I like the challenge of going, guys, did any of you understand what you just said? Shit, we can't communicate with this NPC. How are we going to communicate with this NPC? Hey, buddy, do you speak common? Shit, he doesn't speak common either.
Really, really?
Really, really? Yeah, the freaking kobolds that now scream really, really every time they see a freaking paladin. So nice.
What is this with incontinence today? I am not incontinent.
He doesn't pee himself.
That's all right, because our youngest boy was singing "Do Your Ears Hang Low," and when it comes to the continental soldier part, he calls it the constipated soldier, and it was very, very cute.
It is. It's kind of adorable. All right, moving on. I don't have a lot of money. Hey, what a coinkydink. Neither do I. And I don't really want to get free, quote unquote, stolen content for my D&D games. Are there ways I can get content, campaigns, maps, PHB, guides, etc., from like a physical library or some online source?
There is a few libraries in the world that do carry role-playing books. I will say that. You can sign them out of a library, and you can, rent them or what have you. Those locations are few and far between. If you find one of those, or if you have one of those in your neighborhood, you stand outside of it with a rifle, and you make sure that the little bastards who like to steal shit don't go inside there. As I said, they are very, very few. I've only seen 2. I saw one in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I saw one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So those are the only 2 I have ever seen, though I do know of a couple of game stores, even in my local area, that if they are running a game in their store, they have a library of books that the players in their stores can use. But once again, that's rare to find. You'd have to play at the store in order to do it. As far as online content goes, you can find ways to purchase online content. Yes. Things like D&D Beyond. That is going to have a subscription-based service to it, and it will have, since it is licensed by Wizards of the Coast, it will have the full PHB, the full DMG, the full Monster Manual. It'll have more than what just the SRD has, which is considered to be the quote-unquote free version of D&D. I would suggest looking into those things for yourself. Looking for PDFs online, you can find most of the adventure modules in either a Fantasy Grounds module or a Roll20 module or a number of other formats that you can purchase, but they cost just as much to purchase electronically as they do to purchase the physical copy. You will not be able to find the core 3 books or any of the Wizards' current actual source book material as PDFs, not for legal sale.
And also look up basically D&D Light, like Dungeon World. It's like D&D, but it's just a little bit tweaked, and I believe their basic rule set is available for free download.
The basics are for Dungeon World, yes, but if you wanted, I think what the question here is asking full versions. I mean, because you have a free version of D&D right on the Wizards website, which is called D&D Basic. You can get that for free. But they're looking for full content. They want all the spells, they want all the class abilities, they want all the feats, etc., etc. You're not going to get those in any sort of free content.
Suggestion, save your taxes, go out and buy it.
If you have a tax return. If you end up being one of those poor bastards who has to spend money on your taxes, then you should be able to go out and buy those things anyway.
Exactly. Okay, I would like to do more one-shot campaigns. What is the best way to go about this?
Funnily enough, I'm actually posting the First of the Delver Society to drive-through tomorrow. It's going through its final layout process right now, and it will be going up for sale on drive-through tomorrow. Well, it'll be uploaded tomorrow when it drive-through decides that they say, yes, we are greenlighting this project. I don't know. I don't have any control over that. Normally it takes a few days. But the best way to run one-shots is to purchase one-shots. You can find them on DM's Guild, you can find them on drive-through, you can find them on RPG Now, plus a whole host of other websites. You can find them for free. You can get them for pay what you want, and you can get them for as low as like $1-2 a pop. And they're little one-shots. They could be anything from 1 game session side quests to maybe 3, 4, or even 5 game session little mini adventures. But you can find them out there.
Okay. I am new to D&D, and I don't understand some of the things my group talks about. I'm trying to learn, and I'm very interested, but I just recently understood things like Neverwinter and the Sword Coast. Oh, sweet baby Jesus, you may need more help than I can give you, but how can I educate myself?
How can you educate yourself as to game mechanics or lore? That's the big deal here is you don't.
Lore is easy. Lore is just, it's reading basically.
Right.
Mechanics is a little different though.
Not really. No, mechanics are just as simple as lore, because all you have to do is look at it and read. As I said, role-playing books are basically just really long, involved word problems with a story. That's all they are. They're just math problems, because it's, you go, person A goes to person B, and person B has 4 swords, and person A has 2 swords. Who's gonna win? That's all this is. It's just a freaking math problem, and there's no real way to tell any one person how to get better. You get good. That you can't tell somebody to get good. You are doing well when you're playing a role-playing game of any kind, when you and everybody around you is having fun. It doesn't matter if you know what the rules are. You throw the fucking rules out the window. Who gives a rat's ass about the fucking rules? The rules mean nothing. Because if you're not having fun, but you're following every single rule right down to the damn letter, then it's not fun. Why are you doing it?
Awesome.
You know, it's like sex. If you're not having fun doing it, then don't do it.
Exactly. Sorry. It's yeah. And no, mechanics is not reading because some of us have to actually do it in order to learn the mechanics.
I mean, mechanics come with experience, so play. Don't, put your thumb up your ass and get all willy-nilly over the fact that, oh no, I'm new, so therefore I don't know how this goes. Ask somebody next to you. And if they don't know, ask the game master. If he doesn't know, then guess what? You're all in the same boat and you're just faking it till you make it. As long as you're having fun, who gives a shit? Okay, so on this critical failure, I throw a Cheeto at the person who, got the critical failure. That is the punishment for getting a critical failure on this roll. Fantastic. And if you get a critical success, you get to throw Cheetos at the GM. Fan-fucking-tastic. Is that a rule? No, but guess what? I just fucking made it up. So it's going to be fun because everybody's going to giggle and we're all going to tee-hee about it. That's what you want to do.
Yep, and keep in mind, right back to your local gaming store, they have these cool things called paperback novels. Usually they sell old ones for like 25 cents. Pick some of them bitches up if you want to learn the lore. Believe me, you will enjoy them. You will learn the lore. And them shits is cheap.
Oh, they can be cheap with a lot of this stuff being redone. It's...
Sorry, the old lore works with the new lore, so on and so forth. Just pick them damn things up. They cheap and they're good.
And if you don't know how to do math, and that's your issue, is the mechanics and the math, then by all means invest in a calculator or sit next to the person who smells like Cheetos, because they know math good.
Or do what I do. Take off your socks.
See, as I said, sit next to the person who smells like Cheetos, because Susie's feet smells like Cheetos.
I just count on my toes. Okay. Now. Okay. I am new to D&D. Wow, a lot of you are new to D&D. I want to play a class that is heavy in one stat, i.e. high charisma rogue, but I'm scared that I will screw myself with a dump stat. Okay, before I go any further in this, why don't we explain to people exactly what a dump stat is?
A dump stat is the stat in which you feel is the least important to your character. For example, wizards typically dump stat strength, because strength means nada when you are launching fireballs from the back of the party. That is a dump stat. Most everybody else on the planet dump stats charisma, because people don't need to like me. Except for, of course, the bard and the paladin. The two of them, they hoard the shit out of their charisma. Now, if you're playing a character and you're concerned about where your numbers are going and what your dump stat is, you're a min-maxer. What I want you to do is I want you to go in the kitchen. I want you to go to your silverware drawer. Open the silverware drawer. Take your genitalia, put it in the silverware drawer, and slam it shut 5 times until you realize that min-maxing a character is fucking retarded. Yes, I hate using that word, but guess what? You're a retard if you use it.
There you go, folks. Do not min-max your character. I hate min-maxers. They're creepy little bastards, and they're cheap little punks. Okay, now to finish this question. Now, my DM holds all stats in high regard. Hey, good GM. In fact, he made a player play like he was touched because he put his dump as int. That's awesome. Horrible Harold, homosexual half ogre. That's all I'm gonna say.
It was Happy Harold, the homosexual half ogre. Thank you.
What is my best bet?
What's your best bet for what?
What is a stat? Okay, I'm gonna read this over again. I'm new to D&D. I want to play a class that is heavy in one stat, i.e. high charisma rogue, but I'm scared that I will screw myself with a dump stat. My DM holds all stats in high regard. In fact, he made a player play like he was touched because he put his dump as intelligence. What is my best bet?
genitalia, silverware drawer. That is your best bet. Genitalia, silverware drawer. Why? Because you are thinking like a person who is trying to win. Stop trying to win D&D. You cannot win D&D. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I know I keep saying that it boils down into two things, math problems and lore, but guess what? This is not a math problem that you're going to be able to outmath. Stop it. Because throwing all of your shit into one basket... Alright, for those of us who are parents, we keep telling our own kids, don't ever put all of your eggs in one basket. There's a reason for that, because you're going to trip, you're going to fall on it because your dexterity's too fucking low, and you're going to fall on your goddamn eggs, and you're going to crush them. So go put your testicles in the fucking silverware drawer and crush them. Crush them like those fucking eggs.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I kind of like that idea. If you're, I'm sorry. If you're gonna put your dump stat as int, I'm gonna make you play like you're special.
I make all of my players play like their stats. If you're going to be a poor charismatic player, you know, if you dump statted your charisma, I'm going to make sure that you talk like a bastard the entire time, and nobody's going to want to fucking help you. Every store you go into, every inn you go into, are going to charge you twice. Why? Because you're a dick. That's why. And if you have a low wisdom, then guess what? You get charged twice because somebody has a bridge. It's only been used once, and you can get in on the ground floor for it. Yeah, fucking cheeky bastards. You know, that if you're weak, you're weak. You can't, you know, carry half of your own equipment. You know, if your dex is low, you're Susie and you fall on your own freaking shadow. You know, if your constitution's low, you get sick often. You know, it's cold outside, you end up with a sniffle. You know, these are the kinds of negative things. You don't dump stat. You don't try to make a negative stat because you want to have a high stat someplace else. Yes, it's always good to have your prime requisite score, which is the quote-unquote, is the stat that your character class is based on, to be the highest of all of your stats. But don't dump stat just because you think that you're using a mechanical basis for it. No, you dump stat for your play. If you want to play a very, very charismatic person, somebody who everybody likes, but you're easily duped, then by all means have a high charisma and a low wisdom. If you're, you know, it's a good thing you're pretty because you're awful dumb, high charisma, low intelligence. You know, that's absolutely fine.
Oh my god. We know people like that.
You are a person like that. Thank God you're pretty because you can't walk a straight damn line without hurting everybody around you.
I don't hurt everybody, just me, thank you. Okay, more questions. Oh, are there Gestalt or hybrid rules for D&D 5th edition?
No, and thank God.
Why?
Because the hybrid and Gestalt rules that they put out in 3rd edition, I would have preferred to hit myself in the penis with a sledgehammer repeatedly rather than look at those fucking bullshit rules. No. No, 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 no. That's like giving everybody a ribbon for participating. Gestalt is the common core, no child left behind of D&D. So let's not mention it again.
Ooh, poke the Geo! Let's go, guys! Hit it! Okay, now, can I use minor illusion as camouflage? Like, can I make a minor illusion and hide behind that shit?
As long as you're following the rules of the minor illusion, then yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes,
Okay.
back to the silverware drawer for the Gestalt.
Oh my god.
Susie's over here giggling. She can't, she's laughing too damn hard to read the next question. Because she's envisioning somebody standing there and beating the crap out of their testicles in a fucking silverware drawer. Thank you for making my wife hyperventilate.
Oh, that was awesome. Thank you guys. Ooh, that was definitely awesome.
My silverware drawer doesn't open far enough for mine.
Oh, can I use an enemy as a shield, thus gaining benefits from cover?
Yes and no. This has actually been answered a number of different ways and a number of official sources, believe it or not. Sage Advice, if you don't follow it on Twitter, it's at Sage Advice D&D, I do believe is the Twitter tag for it. But follow Sage Advice on Twitter. They actually answer questions like this all the time. As a matter of fact, it's Chris Perkins who answers these questions. This question has come up a number of times. First of all, you need to be able to grapple and then restrain a target creature that you're going to be utilizing as a shield. And secondly, you have to be able to kind of use that body shield in a meaningful way. Meaning the wizard with the 8 strength cannot haul around an ogre in front of it just because they got their grapple check in there. That doesn't work. You have to actually be able to manhandle and move the creature around. So that means the creature has to be of your size or smaller in order to do so. And then yes indeed, you can interpose the creature between you and the offending player or character or creature, which will impose disadvantage normally on the attack roll, unless they have sharpshooter, in which case they would ignore it anyway.
Okay, now me and my friends are all playing in a D&D game. We kind of want to round robin DMing with the same campaign. How would we go about that?
First of all, I have to say this must be an absolute hypothetical, Susie, because you have no friends.
I have lots of friends, and they're not imaginary either.
Okay, so you want a round robin game mastering. I have no issue with round robin game mastering. I actually think that's a lot of fun, especially in a world where you've all kind of created pieces of it. That's a great one to do it in. Another way to do it is if you each have your own strengths and weaknesses in different types of stories. For example, let's use Forgotten Realms as an example here. You could start off your players in in Zentel Keep or in Thay, and they have to escape. So there's one type of adventure that you'll be going on for a number of game sessions in order to escape. But that means that you ran headlong into Mithranor, which is in the middle of Cormanthir, which another game master goes ahead and picks up the ruins of adventure kind of thing. While you're exploring the ruins of adventure, you run across a portal that leads you to Undermountain. And you go through it. Okay, a third game master picks up there and does the dungeon delve kind of thing. You escape through the yawning portal up into Waterdeep and immediately are thrust into intrigue and political assassinations and such. So a fourth game master takes over. If you're going to be doing it because each person has a style of game or a plot line that they want to utilize for the player characters or some such thing, then by all means, go ahead, round robin it, because that is a lot of fun to do. On the other hand, there is a little bit of a little caveat to go along with that. If you are going to be the quote-unquote lead game master, because there is always going to be one person who runs a little bit more than everybody else, if you're going to be that person, then be forewarned that the campaign could take a turn that you're not expecting and that you may not want to see in your campaign. You may have an ultimate goal for your campaign of, the player characters meet and replace the Knights of Mithranor as the ultimate goal for those characters, but those other game masters may have different goals. So you may end up seeing that the carefully laid threads of plot that you've laid in your first few game sessions may totally come unraveled or just disappear entirely as these other game masters run the game.
Okay.
Yes, yes, God shave the queen, not save her, shave her, because she's a hairy Wookiee.
Okay. Did you hear that Keep on the Borderlands is getting an updated reprint?
Yes.
Okay, well, fine.
Yes, yes, I have. I've heard that. And it's not the first one, nor is it the last one, because it's been updated for pretty much every single edition of D&D that there has been since it was created in Basic.
Sorry, Keep on the Borderlands is like it. It really is one of my favorite campaigns.
And the update for Keep on the Borderlands is actually far more than just a reimagining of the original. It is what's happened many, many, many decades later. It utilizes some of the same locations, but in entirely new plot lines.
Ooh, new plot line.
Well, yes, I did once, say that Susie was an Ewok and not a Wookiee. Well, she has thus grown into a Wookiee. She's actually very close to Cousin It status at the moment.
Hey, that's not nice.
Neither is me dying in the middle of the night to all the hair. And that's just from your nipples.
Hey, I told you. You shave your back hair, I'll shave my nipple hair, and we'll call it even.
I would, but your toe hair gets caught.
Well, that's not my problem then. Okay. Now, we all know that the psionic blah 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 has recently
Yes, it's called the Mystic.
Yes, the Mystic. Now, what does psionic mastery actually do?
I have no idea because I hate D&D psionics, so I made my own.
Okay, it's part of the description from the Unearthed Arcana Mystic rules.
Uh-huh. And I would have to actually sit down and look them over again.
I thought you had time to.
Now, I may be a font of knowledge, but when it comes to certain esoteric rules that I could give a rat's shit about, for example, psionics, I choose not to remember them.
Well, fine then. And that will.
Well, we'll see if we have anybody else out here that has any questions.
All right, if you got questions, guys, PM them to me. Get them.
Yep, I got time for about one more question. Yes, toe hair comes from hobbits and Susie.
No, Minty. We tried the whole wax thing. We're not going there ever again.
No, we couldn't separate her butt cheeks for 2 weeks. And that was from waxing her toes.
And then I got stuck to the tub, and, well, nobody wants that.
So, all right, well, I guess since we do not have any additional questions, I don't have any popping up.
I don't have any popping up over here.
I am not salty tonight, and you can't call me Geodaddy. You're not a girl. Only the maidens can call me Geodaddy.
Aha. And okay, why don't we run through what we got going on this weekend?
Okay, so tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time is Return of the Wraithborn. It is episode 4. On Saturday at noon Eastern is episode 2 of Beast Pits of Ravenna. On Sunday is at noon is episode 8 of Iron Maidens at 6 p.m. Eastern is episode 3 of Blood of the Crown. And all weekend, starting tomorrow in the morning, some European time in the morning, because we got some really fucking crazy ass Euros, is Fantasy Grounds Convention. FGCon 10 is all weekend long. My players of my regular campaigns decided they prefer to play their regular campaigns instead of going to FGCon. So I am not running anything for FGCon. But if you are not playing in a game, I just got an email message from them earlier today, saying that there was a number of games that still had a shit ton of open seats at it. So all you need is a free version or the demo version of Fantasy Grounds to be able to play in it. Other than that, for my own campaigns, I have my 4 campaigns. I have instilled the new inspiration cards, which all of my patrons are now able to download the free Fantasy Grounds module that I created from the Dropbox. Do not ask me for individual links, because I will not make individual links for everybody. You should have all these things saved in your Dropboxes. It is in, I think it's called 0. The folder is 0. I uploaded it there. You can download that, and it has 90 inspiration cards where characters are able to spend a point of inspiration to pick up a card that they can use anytime, either during that game session or anytime in the future. They can hold on to it as long as they want to. It is a physical object that they can add to their character sheets. And it's very, 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 very cool stuff. Some of them are a little bit more useful than others. Some players may find certain ones of them to be much more useful than others. So, by all means, go ahead and download that for free. It's based on inspiration cards from 4th edition that were updated by the EN World community and put out as sheets of cards that have graphics and everything else on them. I was able to split up all those graphics into individual cards and set them up into tables that players can roll on and the game masters can roll on, and everybody can see everything. So it's really very nice. Let me know if you use them and how you like them.
And I have someone asking about Delvers Saturday.
Yes, we do have the Delvers that we were going to be running last night. Because I had to go sit with my mother in the hospital last night. Instead, is going to be played at 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday evening, and that is called Death's Dungeon. Death's Dungeon will be available as a PDF download from Drive-Thru next Friday, and the Delvers that we did last week, where you were chasing the apprentice through the sewer, will be available this weekend from Drive-Thru, because I'm uploading it tomorrow to Drive-Thru. They are $2 downloads, and there'll be one a week that I'll be putting up. It'll be the Friday after we run it is where I'll be uploading it, and they're $2 downloads. If you are one of my patrons, there is a $5 patron level that does Delvers, and so basically you're getting 4 Delvers a month for $5, so $3 off cover price for a month. So that's pretty awesome, and it comes with a PDF and a Fantasy Grounds mod for you to use.
All right, well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thank you all, and have a safe night.
Have a good night, folks. Catch us in Discord at any time, and we shall talk to you later.